everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. Okay, today is gonna be an interesting show. At least I hope so. So we recently reviewed the Akai 1800SD reel-to-reel recorder that had a built-in 8-track machine right in the unit, which is really strange and bizarre. Apparently there was also a cassette version of this, but I just think this is fascinating. So when we tested it out, it's kind of sort of worked. Some people said you need to let it play for a while. Some people said, the belts need replacing. Some people said there's no belts, it's an idler drive unit. So I thought, I really want to see how this thing works. And also I want to check on those infamous Akai cams that are made of pot metal, or supposedly are made of pot metal. So we're gonna open this thing up, check it out, see how it works, see if we can improve it. You're not gonna wanna miss this.
Welcome to Record-ology.
Behold the behemoth. This thing is so heavy, and there's no handle on it or anything. It's a very heavy unit. Again, if you want to see all of the quirks and features and functionality of this unit, check out the full review. It was only a couple of weeks ago. It shouldn't be hard to find. The biggest thing is it's got this 8-track recorder right in the side. Very, very unique device. Wood cabinet, fan in the back, all the connections you'd ever hope to find. It's an interesting unit, and it kind of sort of works. It's just, it's either been sitting for decades or it's been, so used that it's kind of worn. And it was really interesting to me how this did come with all the accessories. I mean, like the whole accessories kit. There was an amazing assortment of things in there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to open it up. These are famous. Akai reel-to-reel machines are famous for having pot metal cams. And basically they're attached to these switches right here. They're on the other side of this panel. And pot metal is sort of the baloney or the spam of metals. So there's like mixtures of aluminum, zinc, copper, trace amounts of iron, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just known to be soft, low grade. It's the kind of metal they make trinkets and toys and, the kind of jewelry that you get out of a claw machine, stuff like that. So for some reason, Akai, allegedly, I've heard this over and over and over, although we're about to confirm it, uses that cheapo metal on the most important thing is where these switches control the unit. And they're famous apparently for breaking down, for becoming brittle. TikTok friend of mine, Roman, has this unit as well, and he discovered that his cams were kind of, destroyed, just kind of crumbled. It's just really cheap metal. Anyway, we're going to need to get into this unit. It is a wood cabinet unit, and I feel that the best way to get into it is just going to be by removing these screws. So let me get on that, and we will see what's behind the panel. Okay, so that was way more involved than I thought it would be. I thought it was like 6 screws, maybe pull a knob or 2 off. This is all that I had to remove just to get those face plates loose. I mean, a lot of stuff here. I bet you've never seen the underside of one of these. Looks brand new. Machined aluminum, it looks like. Pinch roller comes off pretty easy. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff, even washers. So I'm glad I've got this this lid, I guess you would call it. Okay, so it looks like it's going to come off in sections here. So here's the first section. Okay, it's kind of worrisome because it didn't open up that much. I mean, it's pretty, we may have to get deeper. I'm not sure how much so, but that's, yeah, that didn't get us very far, did it? And moment of truth. Maybe. There we go. Interesting. So right off the bat, the first thing I notice is that this is indeed an idler drive unit. You can see these idler wheels. To me, that's a good thing. I mean, I'm thinking, you don't have to worry about belts wearing out, et cetera, et cetera. There may be additional cogs or additional idler wheels or even belts on the back side of this. So I'm gonna test out these. That's a little sticky. Definitely needs probably a replacement. This one also a little sticky. They're not hardened. This is just plastic. And I guess we can take these caps off now. We don't need these caps on here. Very, very interesting. Yeah, plastic on the bottom there. What is this? This is really interesting. So yeah, this is quite a beast of a unit. Let's take a look at those cams to begin with. I can tell you right now, these ones look like they're in good shape. So the infamous cams are going to be this piece right here, this sort of gray metal piece right there, and this one is a little bit smaller on this side as well. And as you can tell by looking at it, it's kind of a dull gray metal versus this shiny, which is probably steel. So let's go ahead and put a lever on here, and you can see how that cam works. It's kind of like, imagine if you start off with a circle, but then you trim off the edges to serve different purposes. So as you can see, this edge right here is flat, and then when I rotate it back around, you can see on the top there it's curved, and this wheel down here kind of falls into position in that curved side, but then by rotating this up, it pushes it up and out of the way, which actuates some function. So that's what a cam is. It's basically sort of like a wheel or a gear that has different positions, and there's different types of cams, et cetera, but that's the essence of it. And I'm going to take a magnet to this and see if it sticks. Usually pop metal has low levels of iron. Iron would be the most magnetic metal in there. So if it's pop metal, it shouldn't be magnetic, but I do want to test that. Do want to look too at this cam. So you can see it has a different function there as it rolls off. Seem to be in good shape. These ones are in, really good shape, but that's the biggest problem. And then once they're gone, they're gone. You kind of have to replace them with new old stock. Usually means parting out an old unit, et cetera. But that's the #1 complaint. So, all right, let me get a magnet and we'll give it a little magnet test. So if my dad is watching, he'll get a kick out of this. So I have made this sort of tool utilizing this little round red magnet that's been in our family for decades. I remember as a kid playing with this exact magnet, and somehow I inherited it, and I've attached it to the end of this tool to use as sort of a, if you lose a screw working on an engine, et cetera. But let's test some of these metals here. Like that is definitely magnetic. That is definitely not. Let's see if we can get down there on the cam. It's really hard to tell because there's other stuff down here as well, but the parts that are exposed, like this screw over here is magnetic, but well, it's really hard. I wish I had a more precise magnet. But I don't get this. See, I get the sense that screw is magnetic, this screw is magnetic, but the actual cam itself, oops. Oh gosh, did I do something wrong then? I definitely clicked something that may not supposed to be clicked. I don't know what I. Oh, that's the pause, I think. Okay, up, down, left, right. I was adjusting this on the show the other day, and so I was like, "You're doing that wrong," which is, yeah, very likely. Yeah, you just lift up. Okay, so lift up. Okay, but actually that might help us get to where we need to be down there. So. Yeah, that is not magnetic. That is, I'm going to say yes, that is pot metal. So that's been verified using my highly scientific methods. So, and judging by the color of it too, it's like, why wouldn't you pick a higher grade metal? That being said, I'm glad that mine seems to be in working order. Let's look at those idler wheels. It's funny, we often talk about circlips or E-clips when we're talking about removing a platter from like a lower end record player. And you will see them used oftentimes to hold on idler wheels. So this is one. So we could take this wheel off and replace it simply by wedging a flat tip screwdriver or a knife in there, pop the clip off, and then this wheel would come right off. You can see that it's pretty well rounded there, and I'm not sure if that's by design or from where, but it is gummy. I don't think I've ever had an idler wheel be gummy. I've had them be kind of hard, but I've never had them be so tacky that they're actually, gummy. This one, you can't dig your fingernail into it so much that it would destroy it, but you can feel there's definitely some pliability to it, but it's sticky. And I'm guessing that that's the rubber beginning to break down. I mean, this is 50-year-old rubber, it probably just about exactly 50-year-old rubber. And this wheel up here, let me adjust the shot here. This one up here is the same story. But, you know, basically the idea here is that the levers, the switches, the mechanical arms, et cetera, move the different wheels into position, creating contact, affecting different functionality. And this is probably a single motor unit, I'm guessing. And I'm guessing that motor is right under, that's the motor shaft. So there's probably a pretty big flywheel under there. I can feel it as I turn this drive shaft. It's got some inertia. It wants to keep going. So depending on the functionality, this wheel can come into contact with it like that, or this one can come into contact with it like that. So if you need to rewind it, et cetera. And then they, in turn, rotate the spindles, either the supply hub or the take-up hub. Let's take it to the next level. I'm going to take out this piece right here and see if we can look underneath. Again, I say this, you know, famous last words, but it looks like there's only maybe 4 or 6 screws that will need to come out in order to make this happen. I'm not 100% sure on that. Remember, I paid 20 bucks for this, so, you know, worst case scenario, we consume the device through, you know, teaching and instructing with it, learning from it, et cetera. I'm sure there'll be somebody out there that would be interested in something like this for parts. So anyway, let me go ahead and work on trying to get that out, and we'll see if we can look at the next level. Okay, so I have verified that this has indeed been tampered with in the past, because in trying to remove those 4 screws, I discovered at least 3 different screw head types. And, you know, a Phillips, a flathead, it was just a hodgepodge of screws. So somebody had been in there before. One of those screws, unfortunately, is completely stripped. I tried a variety of tools, as you can see here, to try and get that out, even just with pliers, trying to wrench it loose. I could drill it out, but I'm not going to. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put the rest of the screws back together, and we're going to try another way to get in. I have another idea. So regrouping here, I thought, let's go around to the back panel, and sure enough, we've got a pretty large panel with 4 screws that did come off easily. And yeah, it looks like we might be able to get a little bit of a peek here. What is inside? So yeah, we do have a decent view in the back side here. This is the enclosure for the 8-track tape. So if I scoot this over here, you can see the opening there for the 8-track tape. That's the top of the housing. So the tape would be right behind this panel right there. That gives you some control over accessing that part of the unit. Now what I'm wondering is, do you think it uses the same motor as the reel-to-reel, or does it have its own motor? Got the light on now, we can kind of go exploring in some clarity. Yeah, most of this stuff I couldn't tell you what it is. It's a monster capacitor there, I know that. But what that coil of yellow stuff is, I have no idea. You can see the fan, which will be on the back side of the motor there. There's the inside of that. Yeah, it's interesting. I wish we could see more, obviously. Very, very fascinating to me. As a kid, you know what? I always like to just explore stuff. There's a speaker. I know what that is. I just like to explore stuff and try to learn how things work. By no means an expert, but this is interesting. I don't know what I can tell you based on this, but yeah, if we wanted to dig in deeper, we could probably take apart the 8-track mechanism. It does look clean. You know, looking at it from this angle, that doesn't look good. Look at all of that tape, or shreds of tape, wrapped around that. That's probably one of the reasons why the 8-track sounded so poorly. Look at the head, it's pretty worn. This is really interesting. This is really, really interesting. The more and more I look at this unit, it just seems like it's so used, so heavily used. Yeah, this needs to be taken apart in further increments and cleaned out, and it just needs a lot of work. The more I dig into this, the more work I realize it needs. I've got sort of a junk reel of tape, perfect for testing purposes. This is like some 50s era tape, probably, judging by the kind of reddish hue. By the way, if you notice the lighting change, I started losing my daylight, so just got some quick and easy incandescents on, and we'll go from there. I'm using it in the flat back configuration, so we shouldn't need to put the caps on there, but we'll see. And yeah, I'm just going to thread things through as though, you know, we were really operating this with the cover on. And see what happens here. Obviously, you don't want to plug in something like this that's opened up. You don't even want to take it apart because you could hurt yourself. You could shock yourself. You could put an eye out with that thing. But I'm going to do it anyway. Actually, I already did. It's plugged in. Now, can I remember how to operate it without any of the... I might have to refer to the plate itself. But yeah, I think right here should be our play lever. Forgot about the power switch, so that'll probably help. All right, light is good. We got a light here. You can't quite see that. It's right down there. Let's go ahead and see the cap stand rotating. That's a good sign. Oh, you know what? I don't have the... you guys are all... I can just see you just waiting for me to realize I don't have this in place, so not much is going to happen without it. So let's go ahead and put our pinch roller on. This time, with the actual pinch roller on, hopefully it stays on long enough to show this. Power switch on. There we go. And it works. And you can see that this wheel back here, this idler wheel, is in contact with this, the take-up hub, so that it's, you know, taking up the tape. But that's not pulling the tape through. Tape 101 here. The cap stand, which, you know, the big flywheel is behind that, is what's driving the tape. The pinch roller is a passive device. It's just rolling. Wrong way. It's just rolling. It's giving, you know, some adhesion to the actual cap stand, which is driving that. And the dimensions of the cap stand are what determines the tape speed. So, and there's another wheel right here, unspooling, I should say, the supply wheel, the supply reel, which allows the tape to be pulled off. That way, the cap stand isn't pulling tape off and it's not pushing tape in, if that makes any sense. It is simply managing and maintaining a consistent tape speed so that the tape goes across those heads the way it should consistently start to finish. And there you go, my friends. That is the Akai 1800SD. A complicated and mysterious unit. Pretty much works. Definitely needs more help, but yeah, there you go. It's definitely fascinating just to see this masterwork of engineering function. Even without listening to sound, I mean, just to see all of the ingenuity and engineering required to simply listen to music is quite amazing. So, fun stuff. All right, everybody, and that is going to do it for today. A huge thank you to you for watching, for supporting, for following, subscribing, thumbs upping, etc., etc. Check out our merch. Check out our TikTok. Think about joining the Vinyl Nation. All that information down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider doing that. Well, my friends, that is going to do it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.